Believe it or not, this marks the third anniversary of Word for Wednesday. It's something that started during the pandemic as a way to reach out and have a short midweek devotion. And let me tell you, it's been quite a learning experience because I can assure you, they certainly didn't teach us anything about photography, videography, or film editing in seminary. And aside from taking videos of my kids with my phone or making the occasional vacation Bible school video with a bunch of pictures and background music, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Here, let me show you a clip. You know, there are few things in life that are scarier than getting lost. You're driving around and you think you know where you're going, and you make one wrong turn, and then you make another wrong turn and another wrong turn. The next thing you know, you are completely lost. You don't know where you are, you don't know how you got there, and you certainly don't know how to get to where you're trying to go. Lost was the very first Word for Wednesday. And boy, was I ever lost. I was just driving around in my car, talking to the camera that was propped up on the dashboard. As I recall, I had to film it 3 times because the camera kept sliding off. There was no script, and you could barely hear what I was saying over the sound of the engine because there was no microphone, other than the one built into the camera. Since that time, I've had to learn how to improve the audio, use things like green screens and overlays, utilize the best light, and how to use my iPad as a teleprompter. Needless to say, it's been quite a journey, one that is hopefully far from over. Which is why I probably ought to apologize. The one thing about calling something Word for Wednesday means that it probably needs to be posted on Wednesday. And as I sit here right now, I think there's a really good chance that this one won't be. Heck, at this rate, I'll be lucky if it's not Word for next Wednesday. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses. That's not true. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am making excuses. But I think it's a fairly valid one. You see, this past week I switched from PC to Mac. And if you've ever tried to do this, you know that in some ways these are 2 very different computer operating systems. So there's a bit of a learning curve. That, however, isn't nearly as bad as the fact that I'm also having to learn an entirely new video editing software, which I'm discovering isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. So why, you may ask, are you making the switch? That's a great question. So I'll tell you. See, you and I are always called to move forward. So if I'm going to keep being a film producing pastor, I've got to keep moving forward. And if I'm going to keep moving forward, I've got to keep getting better. And in order to keep getting better, I must continue to learn. Learning should be at the very heart of who we are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always something more to know and to understand. You may be the very best at whatever it is that you do, but you won't be the best for long if you stop learning. Proverbs 1:5 says, "Let the wise also hear and gain in learning, and the discerning acquire skill." Notice it doesn't say, learning makes you wise. It says, the wise gain in learning. In other words, we should always learn because learning is the smart thing to do. And not only is it the smart thing to do, I'd go so far as to say it's the faithful thing to do. Friend, God didn't give you the gifts that you've been given so you can simply sit back and rest on your laurels. No, we're called to be better. We're called to learn. Whether it's technology, history, math, golf, or sewing, we should always strive to learn more. And yes, this means we should always strive to learn more about the God who created us and gives us these gifts to begin with. So read, study, discuss. learn. Because as long as you're breathing, you ought to be learning. I'm Pastor Stephen Mims, and that's your word for Wednesday. May God bless you.